Today we shall take up on the topic conservation of resources. Conservation of natural resources. Art provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed. This is a quote by Mahatma Gandhi. Conservation of natural resources. As the human population is growing continuously, the consumption of natural resources is also increasing. With the increase of industrialization and urbanization of the modern human society, the use of all these resources is increasing day by day. If these resources are not properly managed and used, there will be a serious scarcity of these resources. So we need to conserve the natural resources. Conservation is the proper management of a natural resource to prevent its exploitation, destruction or degradation. Why should we conserve natural resources? As we know that nature provides all the basic needs which are necessary to us, but we are overexploiting or overusing these resources. If we go on overexploiting the nature, there will be more resources available in the future. So there is an urgent need to conserve the nature. Here are some needs: to maintain ecological balance for supporting life, to preserve different types of biodiversity, to preserve the natural resources for the present and future generation. What is calling for our attention? India as a country is blessed with rich natural resources, but from our research on the uses of natural resources in our country, we found that the resources are depleting every day. For example, forest in Rebel Lane is being depleted due to urbanization, overpopulation, and overconsumption. Wildlife resources are being lost due to illegal poaching, hunting, and industrialization. Water resources are being contaminated and are drying off due to industrialization. Conservation of natural resources in India. The Government of India has undertaken many measures for the conservation of the resources. Regulations and reforms for proper housing and infrastructure development to avoid land acquisition problems. Mass media public service messages to educate the people on the importance of conservation of resources. Increase the wildlife and forest reserve in the country. Schemes to do a proper inventory of the resources and monitor changes in the environment. Various projects and schemes that promote conservation of resources. As a responsible citizens, we should mainly conserve soil, water, biodiversity, and forage. Conservation of soil. Soil conservation measures should aim at preventing or at least minimizing the soil loss. In order to do this, proper and utilization coupled with agricultural practices should be adopted. Some methods of conserving soil: looking into methods, crop rotations, alternatively growing a cereal and legume in the same field will not only increase the yield but also increase the fertility of the soil. They also help in taking soil erosion. Mulching. Interculturing operations will kill weeds and soil mulches help the plants to be rooted firmly in the soil. Strip cropping. This is an agricultural practice of growing plants in suitable strips in the field. This is of the following type: dry farming methods. This may be practiced where rainfall is low, indefinite, and variable. In dry farming methods, only crops are grown that can sustain even a very low rainfall. Some images of soil conservation: mulching, then strip farming, then crop rotation and dry farming. Conservation of water. A step to conserve water is the step to secure the future. The most essential among all the natural resources on earth is water. A drop of water is worth more than a sack of gold for the thirsty man. Water conservation is what that can reduce the scarcity of water. It aims to improve the efficiency of use of water and reduce losses and waste. Tips to save water. Avoid leakage of water from taps. Turn the tap off when not in use, especially when you brush your teeth or wash clothes. Rainwater harvesting is another method to conserve water. The water supply should be limited in those areas which enjoys the unlimited water supplies. Technical methods to conserve waters are number 1 rainwater harvesting, number 2 historical water bodies, and number 3 ponds. Some images of water conservation are shown here. Then here rainwater harvesting. Then here these are the picture. Water being wasted in cities of India. How waters have been wasted. Save water and save life. Conservation of biodiversity. Biodiversity provides the base for the livelihoods, cultures, and economies of several hundred millions of people, including farmers, fisherfolk, forest dwellers, and artisans. It provides raw material for a diverse medicinal and healthcare systems. It also provides the genetic base for the continuous upgradation of agriculture, fisheries, and for critical discoveries in scientific, industrial, and other sectors. The rapid erosion of biodiversity in the last few decades has impacted on the health of the land, water bodies, and people. Measures to conserve biodiversity. Number 1 legislation. Formal policies and programs for conservation and sustainable utilization of biodiversity resources date back to several decades. In situ conservation, conserving the animals and plants in their natural habitats is known as in situ conservation. Ex situ conservation. Ex situ conservation of plants and animals preserve or protect them away from their natural habitat. Recording indigenous knowledge. The lives of local communities are closely interwoven with their environment and are dependent upon their immediate resources for meeting their needs, etc. These are the images of biodiversity. Save biodiversity, save life. Biodiversity, it's your life, protect it. Animals being killed by people to make leather bags could be seen here. Conservation of forest. Keeping in view the importance of forests in our life, the people all over the world have stopped unnecessary deforestation. Our government has also made laws to prevent unnecessary felling of trees. Government has decided to declare certain forests as protected areas. These protected areas are called reserves or wildlife sanctuaries. Here no one is allowed to hunt animals. There are about 150 wildlife sanctuaries in India. People come from all over the world to see these sanctuaries. They consist of some of the most beautiful and rare animals. By our Indian constitution's legislation for conservation, various laws and acts have been passed in India. Constitution for the protection and conservation of various natural resources. Some of them are Environment Protection Act 1986, Forest Conservation Act 1980, Chifco Movement 1988, and many more. Looking back once again, why is it necessary to conserve resources? Number 2. Mention 3 measures to conserve resources. Number 3. Mention 3 methods to conserve soil. Number 4. Suggest 3 technical methods to conserve water. Number 5. In which year Government of India passed Environmental Act? Thank you.